Hey everybody, this is TJR. This weekend, I lost another friend and a former bandmate. You may remember a video that I released not too long ago where I told a story about a musician who wanted to learn how to play guitar and was so serious about it that he brought his guitar to work with him every day. He played on his lunches, he played on his breaks, and he played on it constantly. And the guitar he was playing on was just a very cheap $200 guitar that he had purchased. And after 2 years, that guitar was ready to fall apart, literally. And he said, well, I guess I'm serious. So now I'll go out and buy an expensive guitar. And he went out and bought a really nice Taylor acoustic guitar. That person's name was Eddie Jones. And I remember being very impressed with his diligence towards his instrument. And I took him under my wing and I invited him to join a band that I was forming. I had just finished recording my first album and wanted to start promoting it and doing live shows. And I needed a second guitarist. And clearly, I thought to myself, this kid is serious. I'll take him under my wing and kind of show him the ropes because he'd never played in a band before. Eddie was a really just even-keeled guy. He wasn't just my bandmate, he was a friend. And even after that band broke up, we stayed friends. He and I had a lot in common. We both were very keenly interested in music. We were also both very keenly interested in film. And we loved talking about our favorite bands, our favorite motion pictures, our favorite directors. We just loved being able to just talk to each other. I'm not sure what gig this was taken at, but here I am backstage with Eddie right next to me and the bass player in that band at that time. Eddie played on a ton of gigs with me, and he also played rhythm guitar on my second album, Mixed Emotions. Eventually, I had to dissolve that band, and after I did, Eddie formed his own band called Insidious Fix. I remember going to see their very first live gig, and afterwards telling Eddie that I was so impressed with the band that if I wasn't busy doing my own thing, I would offer to manage the group. I thought they had a real potential, and I thought they had a real chemistry on stage that you just don't find too often. There was a lot of volatility, though, in that band, and oftentimes he and I would sit and talk, and he would discuss with me a lot of the situations he was dealing with. He was clearly running this band, and he had to kind of manage everybody's egos. And I remember at one point he a number of times would say to me, I'm starting to understand now a lot better what you had to go through running the last band, meaning my band with him. I want to state, though, that Eddie was not the reason for any volatility in that band. It was the other two guys. I'm not going to get into that soap opera. But having Eddie around in my band when there were issues and being there to talk with Eddie about his band when he was dealing with issues taught me a lot about being rational when everyone else around you is being emotional. And Eddie was extremely good at separating himself and looking at things rationally versus emotionally. And I learned a lot from just watching him, talking with him, and listening to him. And I'm always going to be grateful for that. Eddie's band did eventually break up, and for a while there he put music away while he pursued other things. In time he would go back to school, he started studying art, he learned how to draw. But eventually he did come back to playing music again. He started to jam with other musicians, he learned how to play bass, and he even started writing songs, something he had said he had never done before. And I remember listening to his recordings and hearing a lot of, really good song ideas, some good choruses, good grooves. And it began to kind of re-spark some of my interest again. And recently I had been thinking, hey, maybe it would be cool if he and I got back together again and worked on some new music together and maybe did a little music project together where we would write up some songs and record them. And this made the news of his passing just all that more just unbelievably shocking. Eddie wasn't even 40 years old yet, and he died of a heart attack. I know there might be a few of you who are looking at the pictures I've posted and thinking to yourself, well, hey, he was a big guy. And back then, yes, he was, but this was some 15-odd years ago. Eddie had long since changed his lifestyle habits and had really trimmed down. He was a very strong, very healthy guy. I talked to Eddie just a few days prior to his passing in person, and there was no indication or any way you could possibly imagine that a few days later he'd have a heart attack. It's only been 2 days, but I am still processing this. And as I've gone about my days, it'll just suddenly hit me. He's gone. He's really gone. I'm not going to be able to talk to him again. And I'm never going to be able to have that discussion I wanted to have about the possibility of us making some new music together. And it's still very hard for me to believe. I know that over the next week or so, I'm probably going to have a couple of dreams where Eddie suddenly shows up, and I'll be like saying, Eddie, I thought you had died. And he'll say, oh, no. It wasn't as bad as everybody thought, or something like that. And he'll just be like, totally like calm and mellow. And even though that's impossible, boy, I sure do wish that could happen. Recently, I had just written and posted a song here on YouTube entitled Before the World Ends. The opening line, I want to see you one last time before the world ends. I want to see you one last time, my one true friend. And I wasn't thinking of Eddie when I wrote that song. I was thinking of another friend that I hadn't really talked to in quite a while. So I'm glad that I, stayed in touch with Eddie and even spoke to him, prior to passing. Eddie, you were a really good friend and a really good bandmate. And I still don't think it's quite hit me yet that I'm never going to see you again. And I'm going to miss you a lot, dude. This is TJR, and if you have friends and family that you haven't hooked up with in a while, that you miss, don't put it off. Thanks for watching. Bye.